Hey Jan, um, and Mike. Wow, I'm blown away by the video that you sent. Thank you so much. That's touching and makes me feel very cared for and loved, and filled with excellent information that I'm glad is on social media, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with this issue of dementia with a parent, and maybe we can help some people by talking about it publicly. So one thing I wanted to share in return to anybody listening, as I thank you, I feel like I was given a huge gift by a dear friend of mine. His name was Tom Deering, and he was a film producer. His mother had dementia. When that happened, he went to interview one of the world's leading experts on geriatric memory issues, a gentleman named Dr. Leopold Liss from the Ohio State University. And he then interviewed him and produced a documentary and made a bunch of DVDs that he donated to a lot of elder care facilities with Dr. Liss's advice. And I came into this with that knowledge, which has been incredibly helpful. Dr. Liss developed a program called The Art of Caring, ART, and that's an acronym for accommodation, respect, and tolerance. And that has been my guide. Art. Go figure, I'm an artist, right? See, it all circles around. But in Dr. Liss's video, he offered numerous examples of art. One of them, there was a titan here in Ohio, very wealthy philanthropist who ended up in a care facility for dementia as he got older, and no one could get him to eat, and he was very combative. And one of the nurses, a big former football player guy who had gone through Dr. Liss's training, learned that you need to find out about the person in order to find out why they're acting out or being frustrated or acting in certain ways towards their caregivers. So he found out that this man was this very wealthy philanthropist and prominent leader of the community, and was accustomed to having his meals in restaurants. That's where he took a lot of his meetings. And the problem they were having with him is whenever they would say, come on, it's time to go to the cafeteria and eat your lunch, he'd go, no! He'd throw his food and cause a problem. So this nurse was like, okay, I understand who this guy is now. So he walks in his room, goes in the bathroom, gets a hand towel, puts it over his arm, and comes out, and he's like, sir, your table is ready. And the man was like, thank you. He got up, followed him to the cafeteria, sat down, and ate his food. They did that every day. They never had a problem again. Go figure. Another great story that I remembered from the DVD series. A son was caring for his mother who had dementia. She had moved in with him, and she started wandering out of the house in the middle of the night, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. She'd just get up out of bed and walk out the front door and get lost. So they started locking the doors and doing alarms and all this kind of stuff. And whenever he would try to stop her from going out in the middle of the night, it would turn into a big fight, and she'd be very combative. So Dr. Liss said, okay, here's what you do. Don't fight with her about it. Don't tell her she's wrong. That's what you said, right? Just agree to be in her reality. So he said, you've got your alarms on the door, so if she gets up in the middle of the night, you'll hear it, it'll wake you up. Go down there and just have a conversation. Just say, hey Mom, what's going on? I'm gonna go take a walk. Instead of saying, no, you can't do that at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, and it's snowing and you're barefoot, right? Don't do that. Just say, oh, really? Could I go with you? And she'll say, well, sure. Okay, well, it's a little chilly out. Maybe we should get our jackets, but do you mind, could we have a glass of milk before we go? I'm a little thirsty. And she'll be like, okay. And so they go in the kitchen, and he would make her warm milk because it has tryptophan in it, and that makes you sleepy. And they'd sit at the kitchen table and talk, you know, and it'd be nice. She'd drink her milk, and 5 minutes would go by, and she would have completely forgotten about going for a walk. And he'd go, oh, it's getting late, I'm tired. You tired, Mom? You ready to go to bed? And she'd go, yeah. And then they go to bed. And so instead of all this fear and combativeness and frustration and fighting for the next period of time, you know, they just had these little late night conversations over a glass of milk. And he said it was one of the most precious times that he remembers having with his mom during her illness. So those are two stories from Dr. Leopold Liss from the Ohio State University. I hope that can help some other folks too. And I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to just meet Mom where she's at. You know, I don't ask her questions about the past or the future, or do you know who I am, or do you recognize me, or do you know who your husband is, or any of that. I just say, how you feeling? I tell her she looks nice. I tell her I love her smile. I tell her I love her. I play music for her. I hold her hand. She likes to be touched and to have me look into her eyes. And one last thing I noticed. Some days Mom's really confused, and some days not so much. And I think I've seen a connection that if there is a sound in the background, if there's a TV on or a radio in the other room, or if there's people talking in the other room, or more than one person talking, any kind of sound, she'll just glaze over and she can't process anything. So one of the first things I do when I go over is I turn off every sound that I can and make sure the room is completely quiet. And then she kind of comes alive. She'll look at me and she'll pay attention. And if I'm talking to her too much, you know, she'll get that kind of glazed over thing, and I'll just back off and sit with her quietly, because there's nothing wrong with just sitting in silence with someone you love, just holding space. So that's where we're at. And, you know, hey, maybe you've started something here. Maybe other people will share their stories, and we'll end up with a thread that's going to help a whole lot of people. So, thank you so much, and I love you all. You want to say goodnight, Ziggy? Yes, good boy. Look at my little monster. Isn't he adorable?